All right. Hello, everyone. In this video, I'm going to be doing a daily forecast for tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be June 2nd, 2026, and we're going to be Tuesday tomorrow. Overall, today it was a great day in the markets. Everything moved exactly like I expected it to. So, very high probability price action today. A lot of volatility as well. We got some news this morning that Iran was not negotiating anymore with the US when Trump was saying the complete opposite. And so that moved the markets a lot. And so, let's take a look at everything. Let's start actually by the economic calendar here. As you can see, tomorrow we have some GBP news and some Australian dollar news. We don't really have, well, we have jobs opening, but that's not great. That's not like really important data right now. And so it's an orange folder. So I would say tomorrow could be a little bit lower probability, well, lower volatility, sorry. And then Wednesday we should have some more volatility coming in. All right, so let's start by looking at the dollar right here. So as you can see, like I said yesterday, um, we went higher today on the dollar, but right now we're seeing quite a big retracement here at the top with this week. But that doesn't really matter to me because we still have that 4-hour fair value gap that looks very good, I'm not gonna lie, to continue higher. So I think tomorrow, actually, we could have something interesting on some of the majors, potentially. But the dollar does look good to continue higher, even though we have this massive wick at the top. I still see higher prices from this 4-hour fair value gap. So overall, I think the dollar is going to be interesting. So let's look at our major interest list. Yeah, GU today was a massive consolidation. We don't have that 4-hour fair value gap, so that to me is just not interesting. EU, yeah, it doesn't look too great. Well, yeah, actually, EU also has the 4-hour fair value gap. So that looks like the dollar. Let's see if we can push lower from this 4-hour fair value gap. I do like EU. I do like EU. Now, if we look at USD Canadian, I don't like USD Canadian right now because it doesn't seem like price wants to come back inside one of these two weekly fair value gaps. It just doesn't seem likely that price is going to retrace all the way back there. And so that makes it less well, lower probability for me. And the other scenario that's possible here on USD Canadian is that we retrace, just like on EU, for example, we just get a retracement back inside the 4-hour and then we move higher. These are my two scenarios, but I would honestly prefer and wait for USD Canadian to go all the way back to a weekly fair value gap. That to me is a little bit higher probability. Now, let's look at USD JPY. Again, it's very similar here. I would just want to wait for price to come back inside the weekly fair value gap. Yes, again, there is this 4-hour fair value gap, but we've reached a major target today, and then the next target is so far that I don't know, I see bearish here on USD JPY for tomorrow. Or at least maybe a consolidation. Maybe if we can create that daily fair value gap, then on Wednesday we can continue higher from that daily fair value gap. That's another scenario here. But USD JPY overall, I would say stay on the sidelines for tomorrow. So the only major that I think is worth taking a look at for tomorrow would be Euro, EU basically, Euro USD. That's the only one I would take a look at. Okay? All right. So now moving on to gold. I actually took, sorry, forgot to remove all of these. I took 3 trades today. really good ones. Mm, all right, so let's remove all the mess on this chart. Okay, so gold overall, I'm gonna say bearish for tomorrow. That's because we closed below yesterday's low. Well, not yesterday's, but Friday's low, basically. So I still see bearish prices. Again, we still have this low to reach, and the first target is this low right here. Um, then on the 4 hour, that's the problem. The 4 hour is problematic because we just don't have a 4 hour fair value yet. The only one we have is all the way up here, but trust me, we're not going to retrace here. So the only thing that I can see price reverse and start going lower from is actually this fair value area high. Well, low, actually. It's a fair value area low. And so the retracement that we saw right here today, we retraced all the way back to that fair value area low, and now we can push lower from that. We look more details on the 1 hour. We had this 1 hour fair value gap. First candle kind of disrespected it, but then second candle rejected. So right now it's 50-50, but I'm still maintaining my bias of, well, my bearish bias on gold for tomorrow overall. All right, let's look at silver. That can help us, kind of confirm. So silver overall was ugly today, mostly consolidation. But I think the direction remains the same. We're still bearish, still aiming for this low. The 4 hour, yeah, doesn't look too great. Doesn't look too great. Then the 1 hour. Okay, well, here on the 1 hour, we actually have a 1 hour bearish fair value gap that was created just before the market closed. But we also have a bullish fair value gap here. So silver doesn't look too good. I'm not gonna lie. That doesn't look too good for tomorrow. But maybe eventually during the week it could clear up. But still, I remain bearish on the metals. Now, crude oil, the big story of the day again. I predicted it right yesterday. So, like I thought we were sweeping this low and then we just exploded. I think we went up all the way up to like 97 a barrel or something, and that was up like almost 8% on the day. So that's a pretty crazy move. Literally in one day we moved the entire range of the previous week. So that's just to compare to like show you how big the move was. So yeah, I'm still bullish for tomorrow on crude oil. We still have this high to reach. If we look on the 4 hour, it's a little bit like gold. We don't have the 4 hour fair value yet. But what we do have that can push price higher is this fair value area high right here, just like gold. And we can continue higher. As you can see, we are respecting this fair value area and this fair value area pretty well right now. Now we have a bearish fair value gap on the 1 hour right here, but honestly, I don't think that fair value gap is going to hold. I genuinely don't think it's going to hold. We'll see how things develop, but if this fair value gap fails, then it's a clear run all the way to this high. It's a clear up move to this high. There's no more resistance after this 1 hour fair value gap. So yeah, I do see higher prices tomorrow on crude oil. Now Bitcoin, I'm really happy about Bitcoin today. Massive drop. Um, at the peak, we went all the way down to 70K. That was minus 4%, which is great. I just love what I'm seeing. And this is like, you can't make this up. This is such a high probability price action that we're seeing here on Bitcoin. Look at how we just got a sting in that fair value area low to then push lower completely. That's really, really high probability price action. Price did not even bother. to say, okay, I'm gonna go get that fair value up here in this fair value gap to then continue lower. It did not even bother to do that. It just reversed from the fair value area low, and that tells me that it's really, really high probability price action here. And so that's beautiful, honestly, on Bitcoin. And then tomorrow we could potentially reach this low and then consolidate to create a daily fair value gap. Okay. So that's great for Bitcoin. And then the indices, nothing crazy today, just going higher still. Again, tomorrow I'm expecting the same, just some new all-time highs. Nothing, nothing crazy here. All right, and then the crosses, we got we have CHFGPY that really didn't do what it was supposed to do. So yeah, that to me is just not interesting anymore. It completely reversed, so yeah, I'll keep it on the interest list maybe for later, but I just don't see why price would go higher from here. Yeah. Okay. Well, let's move on. Canadian dollar CHF. We were expecting what? We were expecting bearish again. Yeah, completely reversed as well. So yeah, that's not interesting anymore. GBP CHF. Well, okay, same thing. Completely reversed. Not interesting anymore. New Zealand CHF. Wait, we were expecting Monday. Okay, yeah, that's weird. But New Zealand dollar CHF though, this one is not that bad. Well, like it's not great. It's not a great chart right here, but I can still see a case where we continue higher from this tiny fair value gap, which also happens to overlap with this fair value area. And so I see the case where price could just stay inside here and then move higher. So yeah, New Zealand dollar CHF, maybe. But also we have to keep in mind that we're in a third candle consolidation on the weekly time frame. That makes it a little bit less probability. So be careful in the process. Be careful. Australian dollar, Canadian dollar. Yeah, overall today was just a consolidation. Yeah, not great, not great. I'm gonna wait for later this week. Then Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar. Oh, nice. Okay, this. Okay, ooh, yeah, that looks good. That looks really good. Okay, so we got this thing inside the monthly fair value. Yep. Okay, and now the two candle rejection. We're rejecting from it, and we completely failed to create this bearish fair value gap on daily. That's a very strong bullish sign, right? So yeah, that does look good to me. We have the bearish daily fair value gap as a first target, and then how can we get there? That's a little bit more difficult here because we don't have a 4 hour fair value gap in this last piece of price action. We have some down here. We have one and two. It's a little bit 50-50 at this time, but maybe price is going to clear up here. But Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar does look like the most interesting cross pair. On all of that list, Australian dollar, New Zealand dollar is my favorite. All right, lads. Well, that's it for the forecast. So as I said, long on dollar, sorry, short on EU, short on the metals, long on crude oil, and then consolidation on Bitcoin, long on the indices, and that's pretty much it for the forecast. All right. So, well, I'll see you tomorrow. Thank you for listening, guys.